This is not financial advice, it's just the wine talking. Welcome back to It's Just a Wine. I'm your host today, Melissa. Joining me today, Matilda Garcia-Tallin and Krista Robinson.
Hello.
She is a stress strategist and an advisor. Welcome.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So, as you may know, we always start off with a little win of the week. Would you mind sharing us with one?
Sure. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is I got a run in today. So it's been a busy week, even though it's only Tuesday, and I was really excited about getting out with the dog and doing that run. So
that's great. Yeah, finding the time to put that in, which is great.
Yeah, sets the tone for the week.
Exactly.
The weather helps too.
Yes. The weather did help. How can you not
great.
run when it's beautiful like
Exactly.
that? Yeah.
So, we're going to start off by asking you a question. So, can you start off by introducing yourself and sharing a bit about you and your profession?
Sure. So, I'm a CPA by background, and I have over 30 years experience as a CPA. And throughout my career, I worked in accounting and audit and tax, and I mainly specialized in tax, and for over 20 years I was specialized in research and development tax credits and incentives. And today I've now transitioned into being, as you said, a stress strategist and advisor. And my work centers around two different things. So I'm focused on supporting career-driven individuals in designing their own version of sustainable success so that they can avoid burnout, stay energized, and thrive both professionally and personally. And I also partner with organizations to implement burnout prevention strategies as well, because I'm trying to tackle the root cause of burnout in organizations so that people can thrive at work, and you create a culture of well-being and high performance that can go hand in hand.
That's awesome. I just want to ask you, do you work with a team or it's just you?
Right now it's just me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have a couple other coaches on the side if needed, so it's something that I've considered, but right now it's just me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Working for yourself is always the best. It has its pros and cons, but it's mentally it's good. You're your own boss. You're your own boss.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a switch from what I was doing. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you said there that caught my attention, and I have so many questions about it, and I know we'll get to it throughout the conversation. But one of the things that you mentioned was sustainable success. What does that mean?
Well, it basically means that you can thrive without burning out. And the sustainable success is all about understanding partly what your authentic rhythm is. So I kind of see the authentic rhythm as the pace that you would run a race. So it's knowing what helps you thrive and what's the pace that you want to work that you can do that allows you to be successful in life. And sustainable success is all about being aware that it's not about throwing everything at what you're doing. It's about stepping back, saying, how do I need to work or manage my life so that I can sustain my success for the long run. So you want to avoid burnout and thrive, and it's that intentionally maintaining the ebb and flow of your life, but always coming back to a rhythm that works for you. So it could mean that at times it's really busy and you're going to work a lot of hours. Maybe you guys work a lot of hours putting this all together, but you also know when to take a break and get back to what helps you thrive. And that could be going for that run or doing what you like to do so that it's not all about work.
Sorry to cut you off. So you work mainly with balance, like balancing everything in life.
Yeah, being intentional about balance, and it's not like, what I think is important is that everyone can do it. So you can be in a fast-paced environment, but still, as long as you know you and what works for you and what again helps you thrive and what your values are in life and what you want to achieve and do, then as long as you can always maintain yourself to be able to have those things in your life, even though sometimes it might be smaller at some points or larger at other points, it will help you thrive through life.
It sounds like it's a conscious effort and
Yep.
requires constant work.
Exactly. So that you're not getting whisked away by like weeks of overtime, like when I worked at the firm, there was lots of busy periods. So you could work 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, even longer, depending on the projects, where you were full tilt all the time. So you didn't necessarily get the downtime that you might have needed. So you were tired. And what sustainable success means is that instead of just pushing through all the time to crank out that work, to step back and take your breaks and go for your walk, go for your run, spend time with family, watch TV, like do the things that you really like to do, and make sure you have a piece of that no matter what. So even if it's crazy hours that you have to work to get through that busy season, you know that, you know what, this weekend, I need a day. Like I need a day for my family. I need a day to do something different and catch up with myself so I can go back and sustain that pace for the next couple of weeks to get through that busy season. But it's when things go for, weeks and months and you don't get that rest from the stress that comes with working really hard, then you can start to get some of the symptoms of burnout, and you really need to manage that so you don't go from stress to burnout.
And it's hard, and it's hard to control that, because everybody's brain is like that. Like once you're at work and you have a project, you want to finish it. You're going to get all the hours in, and even lunchtime, you're going to forget it and you're going to work that hour. Like it happened to me, like when I was doing my internship last year. I was so stressed on like something so small.
Yeah.
And I would forget how quickly the day would pass, and it would be like 4 or 5 o'clock. I'm like, I didn't even drink water. I didn't even eat.
Yeah.
I just, you forget.
Yeah.
And
you can get so absorbed by it.
Yeah, and it's so important to, take a step back and, like you mentioned, go for a walk, have food, or, go for that walk.
Yeah, look after you.
Exactly.
Look after you and what you need. Yeah.
Do you believe that like time management has to do anything with this?
Absolutely. And I was going to mention that when she was talking. Yeah.
I feel like the way I do that, because I do have busy periods as well, and sometimes it's not as busy, but how I manage my time is really with time management, and that has gotten me through a lot.
Yeah.
Not just work-wise, but as in university as well. Before managing my time, I was failing. And as soon as I started managing my time, that's when I started
that's good. That's
succeeding.
That's awesome point, because I find like what I noticed for me is I was really good at time blocking, but I was doing it for work. So I was time blocking my calendar for everything I needed to accomplish for work, and totally forgot about doing it. Not forgot, I guess I just didn't make room for the personal stuff. And I was on at work, but I wasn't on at home or personally. But you're right. Like I think that having the calendar, even if you have that project and you're working all day and you're going to get absorbed into it, but to have that, something that tells you, in a reminder that says, you know what, you need 20 minutes right now, or you need to just walk away and breathe, and it will help refresh you. And I think when you get away from it, you can notice that your brain actually goes into a creative gear, and you can almost solve some of the problems that you were trying to solve while you were working too much. Yeah.
So, you were a partner and you were a CPA. What made you walk out of that and,
give it all up?
Yeah, no, not give it all up.
Yeah,
but like,
stop.
It's not. It's not easy.
No, it wasn't easy. But I ended up burning out, and I didn't know what was happening. I just knew that I wasn't feeling myself. And I experienced a lot of signs of burnout that I didn't pick up on, and neither did all the different doctors that I talked to. So I was experiencing like chronic stress for sure, but I had chronic headaches. I had stomach issues. I even caught mono at 40 some years old.
I was gonna say, what's like, how would you know you had burnout? Like, what were the symptoms of?
It includes those types of physical symptoms, but then there's also emotional symptoms. Like you start to basically not, you don't, sorry, you trying to get to my point here. Emotionally, you're tired, you kind of give up a bit on things, and you don't feel like you used to feel. And You can also be so overtired that, you know, you're feeling irritable and people are annoying you that didn't necessarily annoy you at work before.
Yeah.
And there's just a whole bunch of different symptoms. And even cognitively, when you're trying to be on at work, your brain's just not working the same because you're tired and your focus isn't there, and you start to kind of doubt whether you have the ability to accomplish what you used to be able to accomplish. And it's a whole lot of signs that you I think you need to know what they are, because the physical ones, what I've learned is they show up first, and it's like your brain catches up later. But physically, if you knew that some of the things that were happening to you could be burnout, then you could actually be alert to it and start to do something different. And I think a lot of people miss the signs because we don't talk about it at work.
I also feel like I don't know if this is true, but from what you're saying, I feel like it's like normalized.
Yes.
You know, it's like almost, this is normal. You're supposed to do all of this. You're supposed to feel this way. Like, you know, stop complaining. Just do what you gotta do.
Suck it up kind of thing. Yeah.
Which makes it hard for someone to be like, okay, I think I need to make a change because it's so normal.
Yeah. And
That's what I thought. My previous job is this is normal. I was burned out. I was the only one doing my job. I had no help. And then I realized slowly, I was even planning my wedding. I was getting annoyed by people.
Exactly.
Like
I was gonna say that's one thing.
I would come home and like my husband would come here, and I would like just everybody would annoy me, and I'm like, you know what? I need a change.
Yeah.
You know, it's time to actually answer to those recruiters who would message me on LinkedIn. And I answered to one of them, and he found me my job, and honestly, it's the best change I've ever done.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you knew you needed a change.
I needed a change, and after that, nobody annoyed me anymore.
It's so true. Like it's crazy how
Yeah.
much like you mentioned, one of the symptoms was you would lash out on people. That's like number one for her. It was
I was even planning our wedding, and it was just like very too much.
Yeah, overwhelmed.
I was overwhelmed, burned out. They weren't helping at my work either, and I was like, I don't need this. Like, I'm doing too much for them. I need something else.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really great that you did that.
Yeah.
Because I just stuck through it.
Sorry.
Should have left. But
I believe that the hardest part is awareness.
Yeah.
And then by the time you're aware, it's like kind of too late because you've already gone through it. You know what I mean?
yeah, and that's why awareness at the very beginning is what's key. And that's why I think it's key for us as individuals to know that, because then you can identify it in yourself.
Exactly.
But also identify it in others. If you're working with someone, you'll notice a change. If all of a sudden they're more cynical and annoyed and irritated, then it can be easier to ask a question about it if you know about it.
Yeah. And it's not even just that about like you're being overwhelmed, annoyed and all that. But after doing all that work, I think that you don't feel, I feel like you wouldn't feel the need to do anything else. Whether that's working out, you would just want to sleep. Because you're burnt out.
Well, you slowly give up everything, and it's very common for you to start to isolate yourself, and that's what I did. And I have so many friends, you know, all over the place. We were always planning get-togethers, trips, and all that kind of stuff. And I started canceling everything. So I would have almost a panic attack before as it was getting closer to go, and at the last minute it became like a common thing. I would just cancel because I didn't want to be around anyone else. For one, I was tired, and I knew I couldn't get through the day and laugh and joke and be up where everyone wanted me to be. But I also felt ashamed. Like I was ashamed at how I felt, and I didn't want to talk about it to anybody because I didn't want them to say, well, like, why didn't you knew that was going to happen because you work so much. So I felt like that was going to be the answer, which in retrospect was very negative thinking, but that's where my head was, because my friends wouldn't say that, and they've since been very supportive. So sorry, friends, if you're watching this. Yeah. But you want to avoid everything, and you stop exercise, you stop all the fun things, you don't want to have family dinners.
You lose yourself.
You lose yourself, totally lose yourself, and it's a horrible, horrible, horrible place to be.
Yeah.
And this was when was this?
This was, it started, the signs and stuff started over 10 years ago.
Oh,
but
okay.
it took a process of almost 10 years for me to hit the point where I needed to decide what was going to happen. But it's been a little over 2 years now that I left my job
Self-employed.
and I'm back on track. So
Nice.
but it did take some time to get back on track. It's
sure.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, for
a
sure.
lot of
Your
work.
your life. My next question was like, how was life after the corporate? Like, how was it after your corporate job? Like your
Leaving?
life.
Yeah, my life.
Yes.
Well, it was at first it wasn't good because I was still, I would say, mourning that like leaving work, but also feeling relieved because I knew I needed that pressure off. So I felt relief, but I also felt sadness.
Yeah.
So it was really hard because I spent a lot of years building up my career, and I felt like I just ended up walking away from it. And if I knew more about burnout symptoms and what it can do to you, I think in hindsight that I probably would have taken some time off and hopefully would have come back to my career.
Yeah.
So it's tough spot to be in. Yeah.
I think it's also, we've talked about this in other episodes, and I actually
I think it's time.
Yeah.
had read a book about this where, you know, you were in a position where you're working at a big firm and you have this big title and, you know, you've done well for yourself. And so society kind of guilts you in a way into thinking that, okay, I should be happy and this is, you know, what I should be doing, and I did all the right things and I followed the right steps, and now I'm in this position and I should be good. And so there's a bit of guilt and shame too, to be like, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. And it takes a lot of courage to be like, no,
It's not.
it's not, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And like you did, you put in the work and you made the shift. And so, I mean, cheers to that, because that's huge.
Yeah, it is.
you.
Let's cheers
Okay,
it.
yay! I like this.
So, how has your definition of success changed since that shift?
It's changed. I would say it's changed a lot. I'm still very driven, so I want to be successful. I want to achieve, you know, the things that are in my head that I want to achieve, and I don't think that's ever going to leave me. That's part of who I am, but I definitely define it differently. So I think success earlier was very much tied to my role and what I was doing, for sure. And now it's different for me because I feel like at the time when I started the firm, maybe my values were set on achievement and being a partner and all that kind of stuff, and I could see the path out in front of me. But now that I've been through all of that, I realize that I wasn't valuing all the wonderful things in life outside of that. And those things are really important to me now. And like I said, I'm still always going to want to push to achieve, but I really want to take the breaks. I believe in all my heart in sustainable success, because I think you can have, it depends on what you want and it depends on where those values are. If you manage yourself to what you want, and then it should work for you, right? There's lots of people at the firm that are in those roles and they're pushing through and they love it,
Yeah.
they thrive on it, and it's because it's aligned with their values.
Yeah.
It's when that alignment is off, or you know, there's workplace stressors too that lead to burnout, and if those things are impacting you, then it's not aligning with you anymore. So for me, it's changed. So I'm not looking at just achievement as part of it. I'm looking at balance. I'm looking at the things I want in my life and the things I want to spend time on outside of that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's good. It's been a nice change.
So do you think that your CPA background has helped you for what you do now?
Yeah, for sure. I think that a lot of my, we learned how to do, strategic work. You work with a lot of different people, you get to know a lot of different personalities, and you have to learn how to work with all of them. But I think that the big thing that it gave me too was years of mentoring others. So I've spent a lot of time helping other people that were, we used to say more junior, which is so bizarre, but that worked with me, that I would be providing leadership to and help them in their careers. And there's still some now, even though I'm not working at the firm anymore, I'm still mentoring them, part-time or on the side, because we're vested in each other after all these years. So I think a lot of that, it was stuff that I really, really enjoyed, to help others succeed and give them some direction and help them thrive. And I feel like that's what's really motivated me to do the coaching side of things too, because I really want to see people do well and be successful and not be experiencing burnout at all. We want to avoid that.
I feel like when I used to work at a company during COVID, I had a boss, and I actually looked up to her, and she actually took the time to teach me things and I find it's really important to have that in a company or where you're working, because for me that's important. You're gonna take the time to teach them, and it kind of gives me confidence as well.
Right.
And if you don't have that, or if you're like overworking and you don't take the time to teach others, then what's the point? So I appreciate the mentoring part of
And it creates like an environment where people care.
Yeah, of course.
So you're being guided, and someone cares about your well-being, and that if the more we have of that at work, I think that
it's better.
The more it supports people and helps you feel, because you want to like, part of burnout is not feeling like you're part of the crowd or you're being mentored and looked after, and having that somebody who cares about you at work makes a huge difference.
Huge 100%.
Yeah,
I totally agree.